Black revolutionaries, distillery owners, Italian fashion retailers, and Motown Grammy winners all share their best stories never before told in any other media outlets on Detroit is Different. Visit DetroitisDifferent.com or download the Detroit is Different app on Apple's App Store or Google's Play Store.
Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. 2024 is upon us, but we still keeping things rolling. And new content, better content, more guests, but more so that things gonna tighten up just because we tighten up over here at Detroit is Different. It's been 10 years, and I'm so happy that you're still with us. And kicking things off is somebody that will definitely be more present in content with Detroit is Different, I see in the coming future. A creative, and a creative on many levels. You know, we love that creativity here with Detroit is Different, especially intersecting in community. So you combine both of those, and you combine a lot of song, you combine a lot of soul, and also somebody that knows how to bring some people together for a good party. Bevlove, how are you today?
Yo, I'm doing good.
All right, so we in the space, and just this connection is not the usual connection from the space of so much of the performance and the stage, but more so through some of the other work and how we intersect. And that's so cool that you've already kind of checked out some of the Detroit is Different things.
Yeah. I'm pleasantly surprised about what you're doing. Like I met you a few times in the past. You told me about the first time we met, which was what's the name of that?
The name of that show. We're gonna definitely get to that. It's a show at the Crowfoot that used to be big. Oh man, it's like Shady Halloween.
Something about like Halloween. That. That was the first time we met, which was one of my favorite shows still to this day.
Wow, y'all did it was Coleman Young and Mike Phelps and all of them. Y'all did like a real cool thing, and like I say, soul singing and a different way of doing it. Yeah. And similar to myself and a lot of others, you're a person that created a stage for yourself. And we're going to get to all of that. Okay. But let's start with the Detroit story.
All right.
You and your peoples, how far back do you know? Are you first, second, third, fourth? Like, when did your people make their way to the D?
Okay, so on my mom's side, her parents actually came here from Arkansas.
Whereabouts, Arkansas?
Little Rock.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And actually, my grandfather was a butler, and my grandmother was a maid.
Wow.
And their family moved to Detroit, and then said, "Can y'all come with me and work at our house in Detroit?" So they had 10 kids total, but they had 2 back when that happened, and that's how they moved up to Detroit. They got here. My grandmother stayed a maid. I never got to meet her. She stayed a maid, but my granddad ended up going to work at the plant and then becoming a pastor.
Wow.
Yeah.
So first off, my peoples on my dad's side come from that Arkansas, Little Rock too. So it definitely is some genes. Like, you know, it's like that classic black story. Like my last name is Frazier, but if you really trace the roots, it like goes back to Little and Gentry and other names and stuff. So I'm pretty sure possibly they would have intersected.
Yeah.
And Arkansas, this is what makes that rare. It's not a lot of Arkansas folks that make their way to the D. They usually go more further, a little west, possibly California, even that far west, or Texas, really, or even up to Chicago or Milwaukee and things like that. But what do you think it was about Detroit?
Like I said, they just came with the family. So I'm not sure what the family that they worked for did, but that's a question I need to ask. But but that's why they came. And then on my dad's side, his grandparents were sharecroppers. So my grandmother, she was the oldest of 9.
Wow.
And when she turned 17, she said, I ain't no sharecropper no more.
Okay.
So she got married, had my dad, moved to Detroit on her own.
Where from?
They're from Covington, Tennessee.
Okay, Covington, Tennessee. Yes. I don't even know whereabouts that is.
That's near Memphis.
Okay, so it's not that far from Memphis.
Yeah.
All right. You still got family down in Memphis, or you don't even know?
Not really. When my grandma came, she came by herself, which is probably where I get a lot of my stuff from. She came at 19 and she stayed for 3 years, left my dad there with her parents, and then moved her entire family up here into her little house on the east side. So she had all them brothers, her mom and her dad, all in the house with her because she found a job and she said, we don't got to do this no more. So...
Okay, and I bring that up because just also that culture and that feel of Memphis also is another strong roots. And just like Arkansas, a lot of those folks usually end up in Chicago or Minnesota, like further west.
Yeah,
like
we got some people in Chicago, definitely, on my
Okay.
dad's side.
Okay.
But most of us, all here.
all here. So you said the east side. Whereabouts?
Yeah, well, both of them from Van Dyke, actually. They didn't meet when they were little, but...
But just happened to be
Yeah.
in the same hood.
Yeah.
So they picked up on the culture. Van Dyke
Yeah.
and 7, 6, whereabouts?
Like, I'm not sure, like 7 Mile, I think.
Or like the
Yeah.
classic East Siders always say, it's
Yeah.
by the airport. It's like
Yeah.
the whole East Side. And shout out to Q. He knows how much I joke about that. It's like the whole East Side is by the airport.
Right.
It's 4 sides. They be like, it's by the airport. It's like, by the airport could mean like, all right, all the way
Yeah, all
on 8
the-
Mile.
yeah.
Or it could mean
Yeah.
like, almost downtown. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I know my
Like-
parents say Parker Street.
Okay.
Parker Street, so
Okay.
wherever that is. Because I'm
All right.
from the west side, so wherever Parker Street is, that's where they from.
All right, so your grandparents and you mentioned preaching too in church. Did that tradition carry on as a pastor? Especially like I can imagine like in that era today it carries prestige. It's not the
Yeah.
same prestige, but
Yeah.
I can only imagine, then, being a PK as they say.
Yeah, so my mom was a PK, but her brothers didn't really go into that path
Okay.
because my granddad was a pastor once they were already grown.
Okay.
So they was all kind of street guys.
They was in the world.
Yeah, they
as
were.
say. And they was in the world. It's like that scene
As
in
they
Minister
say I am
Society.
right now. I'm in the world too.
Like that scene in Minister Society where he was like talking to O-Dog. He was like, and I've heard about you,
Yeah.
Kevin.
You in the world. Yeah. They definitely were in the world. They were very worldly.
Baptist, Methodist. Okay.
Baptist,
Okay.
yeah, good old Baptist. My mom's a church musician. Her sister,
What did she play?
she plays the organ.
Wow.
So she and her sister, my auntie, who I'm named for, she plays piano. So they were the church girls, and then the boys was
Okay.
wild now. Yeah.
My this space, as I tell a lot of people, was my my grandmother. This was her room, as I knew, and she also played the organ.
Oh wow.
So it's something about like even hearing the organ sounds, like you hear those tenders that
Yeah.
it triggers something.
Oh, yeah.
I know even more so in a lot of people, and then it's a skill. So
Oh, yeah.
was your having a musician in the church for your mom? And my grandmother was prayed for the musician too, because my great grandfather was a preacher, and he's like, I need somebody to play
Yeah.
musicians. So
Yeah.
so it's like you save some money on the band,
For sure.
but also you get somebody to consistently, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, rehearsal gonna be rehearsal. So being in that and hymnals and playing and around that music all the time as a kid, what was that music like for you in those hymnals and the songs, especially from the organ instead of just straight keys piano?
I mean, it's just like you said, like we took music very seriously in our house. My dad sings as well.
Oh, for real?
Yep.
Okay.
He sings as well.
What was he like? As I always say, was he like front row choir or was he like back row choir?
Oh no, he well, when the story goes, when he met my mom, he was back row, but she was like, that was
worked with him?
their thing. Yeah.
Okay.
So they came together on that. But yeah, music was very serious in my house. Like if we play gospel music, if you play a song, you couldn't stop it in the middle. Like that was on the same level as blasphemy in our house. Like
Wow.
because they said this is the word and need to go from beginning to end. Like it was just always very reverent.
And what type of gospel music? Was it like Shirley Caesar gospel? Was it like more? Was it like the Winans family? What was it?
Yeah, my parents is old school. They older. They had me when they were older. So it was a lot of him. It was a lot of traditional gospel.
So
like
Mahalia Jackson,
not Mahalia.
Mighty Clouds of Joy.
Yes, a lot of
Okay.
quartet singing. A lot
Probably
of
Take Six.
oh yeah,
You
Take
said
Six.
Arkansas and
Oh yeah,
Memphis.
Tech Six. I'm trying to think. Even here, our people here, the Jimmy Dow
Clarks.
Choir.
Okay.
My mom was a member of that, so yeah, they real deep into all that.
Okay. All right. And then with that, and then just seeing that in performance, what was your take as a child, just seeing that level of performance
Yeah.
and really the relationship between gospel and performance in all forms of Black performance it's just like one and the same,
Yeah.
but what did you learn from that just as a kid, seeing the production, seeing the rehearsals,
Yeah.
seeing the placement of everything?
I mean, for me, it was always about making people catch the Holy Ghost. So it was like, you just enter into it with a clear reverence. Like I always knew that it wasn't me. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have an ego about my singing because it wasn't really for me. When I was growing up, so. Yeah, it was about feeling that spirit and catching it with them. My mama didn't like me to do too many runs and all of that, which is probably why I'm such a straight singer.
Okay.
Because it was about the words and getting it to the people.
All right. So what else other than that, what was your mom and dad doing? What was their flow as far as like day-to-day work,
Yeah.
personalities,
Oh, they're
outside of
silly.
the
We a silly family. Like, my dad is a jokester, always has been. He passed that down to me. My mom was a housewife, so we spent a lot of time together. My dad was a mechanic, so he spent a lot of time at work, but it was just us three. I sang soprano, she did alto, he did tenor. We were really tight.
So being with somebody that's been that long in music, both, and then your mom, I assume, was the musical director
Of the house,
family.
yes.
So like, when you did you play around with singing first before you was like, yo, mom, I want to sing, or did your mom be like,
no.
nah, we want you to sing?
She makes a joke that when kids are 6 months in our family, she hum a note and they gotta hum it back.
Wow.
Yeah, so we
Interesting.
always sing.
So your mom was like that mom, like even when you were like a child as a kid, she was singing to you
Yeah,
and things like that.
Yep, she woke me up with a song.
Wow.
Yeah, she called me Rosebud in the morning. Wake up, little Rosebud. So yeah,
that's cool.
yeah,
That's cool. That's
it's
cool.
always been there.
All right, and then as far as performing though, were you nervous because if you start that young, like,
Yeah.
do you remember like some of your first performances as a kid?
Oh yeah, I remember one particularly at New Rising Star where I was baptized. I was not nervous at all. I didn't get nervous until adulthood. But when it was, because like I said, it wasn't about me back then. So, no, I never used to be nervous.
Okay, but I'm sure you saw the other people in the youth choir that was like shaking and
Oh, yeah.
froze up and because
Yeah.
sometimes that happens.
It does. It does. Yeah, I saw that, but it never happened to me.
Okay. All right. So from there, what neighborhood were you guys in?
Schoolcraft. I'm from the West Side.
Okay, so they come. So were you always like kind of going back and forth between East and West to grandparents and stuff?
Yep, to my grandparents, my cousins. I spent a lot of time on the East Side, like Conner area.
Okay.
In the summers.
Okay. And Schoolcraft and what?
Southfield.
Ah,
West
Schoolcraft
Side.
and Southfield. Okay,
West
so
Side.
that's like that Cody neighborhood. Redford. Schoolcraft.
Vitaw.
Southfield. Yeah, that would be Redford.
Neither one of them schools, Vitaw and Redford, are closed now.
Good point. Good
Yeah.
point. So what do you remember about that neighborhood?
I wasn't allowed off the porch much. My dad was really strict.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was always good to me. Like it was a lot of families on our street. So, yeah.
Okay, so if you weren't one of the kids that like, it's like, you on the porch and everything, was it your imagination as
Yes.
a child? What were you tapping into for the most part?
I had imaginary friends for way longer than I was supposed to.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
I actually remember like letting them go. I was like, all right, guys, I'm 12 now. Yeah, this is getting weird. Y'all gotta go. So yeah, it was me and my imagination for sure a lot of the time.
But and do you what? I was one of those kids that had like a lot of toys and had like whole universes connected to them and even creating.
I was always writing. I had a journal. I always liked TV, like comedies, stand up, and listening to music. So I didn't really have many toys. Maybe because my parents were older, they didn't see they were
value
like,
in it.
They're like, girl, you're not even gonna play with them after Christmas. So it was just me. My dad bought me a journal when I was 9. So I've always been like a very like write stuff down type person.
So like every day, or like one of those people that is like when you feel that
No,
is something that
daily.
impacts you?
Like this is what happened today, and this is how I feel, and like I was always writing.
Okay. So in that same writing and that journaling, were like, because writing and reading sometimes go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Were you one of those people like always in books and things like that too?
Not really. Not really. I didn't really like books that much. I did skip a grade. I was always smart, but reading, I don't know. I guess back then they might have said I was ADHD, but I didn't really sit down like to books that much now.
What? So you said you skipped a grade from what to what?
I went from kindergarten to 2nd grade.
Okay. Okay. You just skipped all of 1st grade.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's like so early that people probably didn't even know.
No, they didn't know until like people's teeth start falling out and mine still were in and like that sort of thing. But I was small, but I mean they knew because I would always tell people I was boastful about skipping a grade.
So like, was it also like, I'm guessing like your school pictures, like where they take everybody in the picture, like you was like the shortest one?
Yeah, I was the shortest one. I was the one who still didn't have a tooth, like that sort of thing.
All right. And school, what schools?
So I started at VTAW, but once they made me skip a grade and saw that I was still doing really well, I ended up going to Bates. So I went from Bates from 3rd grade and graduated from there.
Okay, let's go there. Bates Academy is one of the schools that's like bannered, like I say, with flicks, and it's a couple other that are like, okay, these are seen as prestigious elementary schools.
Right.
I don't remember the start. I had an interview where somebody was saying like they were like one of the first classes of Bates and what it took to get into Bates and all of that.
Yeah.
But it's always been accepted as like a great school for kids. Was that the when you were going there? Was that like kind of the banner, or did it feel that way?
It was a lot of pride. Definitely a lot of pride. We all were proud to be Bates kids. We all knew what it meant. To be there.
Okay. And favorite teachers, what do you remember?
I remember my handwriting. I've always had wonderful handwriting, and I learned that from my 3rd grade teacher. My 6th grade teacher, Miss Gibson. And just she's the one that taught us to not like cross out. You know, we couldn't write in pencil, so we had to free flow our thoughts. So I think that kind of helped me with being a writer too, because she's like, it's sloppy if you going back and cross it out. So think about what you're gonna say before you put it down, and that's something I always took with me. I think she's by far my favorite teacher. Yeah.
Okay. And cursive is like an art that I don't even know if kids learn cursive.
Right.
So as you talk about handwriting, for my younger audience, when we write our signature, technically, even though mine looks very strange, that's supposed to be cursive writing.
Yeah, mine is beautiful, and I think it's because I always wanted good penmanship, but then like sitting in her class, I learned. Like I literally, I took it serious. Like I was like, oh, that's how I'm gonna write my W. That's how I'm gonna write my B's. Like that's what I took away from her instead of probably the homework I was supposed to be doing.
Okay, so also like I'm guessing you can go back to those journals over time and it still looks like wow. It looks like some of those letters, like the Victorian letters or something.
Oh yeah, if you look now, that definitely when I write people letters, they're like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, that's something I always took pride in is
So it can be like something
calligraphy.
like something as simple as I left the water for you. You're
Yep.
like, wow, this
That's
is amazing. Like,
serious.
it's amazing.
It is. Yeah, it is.
So Bates all the way through, even through middle school. So it
Mm-hmm.
was that connection. So I'm guessing your parents supported it and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
So from Bates to where?
Then I went to Cass.
Okay, so you went to another one of the like banner,
Yeah.
anchor, great education institutions throughout DPS and Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you choose Cass?
My mom went to Cass.
Ah,
So a lot of my classmates were wanting to go to Renaissance, but I always
because I was
wanted
gonna
to
say
go to Cass.
Bates and Renaissance.
Yeah.
I'm guessing at the time, but I don't know where Bates is now. But I know they weren't far. But I assume
Right.
West Side. We over
Right.
here.
Yeah.
We connected. So a lot of the people went over to Renaissance.
A lot of people
but you
went there,
chose
or private
Cass.
school, yeah. But my first choice was always Cass because that's where my mama went,
Okay.
and it was just so big compared to going to Bates. It was such a small school. I wanted to go somewhere huge, so that's why I chose Cass.
What was it like walking in that big school? Did you start at? I'm guessing like Cass. It's huge. Like,
Yeah.
all those students, especially ninth grade year. That's when you get the most people.
Yeah.
What was that adjustment like?
I'm telling you, when I was younger, I wasn't scared of nothing. I was just like, I'm supposed to be here. I was in the honors program at Cass too, so that just made me feel even more like I was supposed to be there. So, yeah, I wasn't scared. I remember me and my best friend, we were like, we're gonna get name shirts airbrushed. We got our names airbrushed on the shirt.
Okay.
That way everybody would know our name just
That's
off.
funny. And that's what you wore
Yeah,
first day?
first day of school. We actually got called in the office because we wore they were wife beaters. So you can't wear a wife beater, but we got the airbrush. We went to Northland. Beverly, she's Amanda, and everybody knew who we were just off of that. So it worked. Our marketing worked.
Okay. It worked to get you
Yeah.
in the office. It's like, first day, it's like, ain't this something?
Yeah.
Ain't this something?
Yep.
Ain't this something? So what was your cast experience like?
Oh, it was wonderful. I was in Harper Vocal. I was in the theater there. I thrived in Cass. It was the perfect place for me.
So let's talk a little bit about theater, as my cousin was in cast theater. So I know they did like a production of School Days one day.
Yeah.
And
that was a couple years before I got there, but they always talked about it.
And that theater instructor, I forget that lady's name.
Miss McCormick.
Miss McCormick is like a beloved.
Yeah, she won a Tony.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
very beloved Miss McCormick. So you that was your teacher.
Yep.
What was that like, just being with a teacher that was that meticulous to a fine art in a school
Yeah.
that, like, you would think, cast technical,
Right.
Like it's more like math, science.
Yeah, I
engineering,
totally
drafting,
abandoned
and things like
schoolwork
that.
after once I got in with her because I was just like, we were it was like a fraternity. People would come back and visit and tell us about being in the world, and it taught us about being professional at a very young age as well. Like how to wake up, you got to come looking a certain way, you need to be off book, we just took it very seriously, as young kids. So it was just cool to have that community around us. Also, just like I say, the confidence from being in church, from going to Bates, from being in cast to being in theater, the confidence was just always there. It was just always someone there feeding me, letting me know that I was special.
So theater,
Yeah.
also, what were you only talent? If I get this correct, because I know my cousin Devin, shout out Devin, but
Hey, Devin.
Devin, like one time we did this production at Northwest Activity Center at the theater, and he knew all that stuff backstage. Like he knew how to like get the curtains moved.
Oh, yeah.
And
Yeah, you gotta learn
drop
it all.
lights and stuff like that.
You got to learn it all.
So you learned it all.
Yeah, you have to. And that's a part of the theater tradition as well. Not just from being a cast. It's just a part of the theater tradition. You have to learn the whole thing in order to do it, to do any of it. So if you want to be a director, you have had to You had to have been on stage. You had to have, been backstage. You had to know how to cue the lights. It's just a part of the theater tradition.
Okay. All right. And how did you take to the things other than the performance and the talent?
I didn't.
Okay.
I was a diva.
Okay.
I was like, ooh, somebody come pick this up. Yeah, I was a diva. I will admit.
Okay. All right. So it's like somebody watching like,
Yeah.
she ain't want to do none of that stuff. It's like somebody watching right now.
And I was the favorite. So,
Okay. So what roles did you play while there?
I was Carmen in Carmen.
Okay. All right.
I was Sparkle in Sparkle.
Wow. Okay. So you took the lead two
Yeah.
times. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, those were the two big plays because that was my 11th and 12th grade year. So, 10th grade, the older kids, I don't even remember what they did 10th grade, but when it was my time, I was like, yeah, I'm the lead.
I want it.
I'm the lead.
All right. And in studying the lines and remembering and all of that, how did you go about that craft to just getting all that?
Ooh, now that is tough. That's something that I still have nightmares about going on stage, not knowing my lines to this day. Like, I think all theater kids can relate. That is one of our biggest fears. But, you got to write it. I did it by writing, repeating, and then practicing with my friends. But I commend people who can do that because I haven't done it in a while, and I still fear, like, I will wake up like, oh my God, I'm in a play, and I haven't done a play in years.
Hilarious.
Yeah.
So the singing though during this time, what were you doing vocally?
I was in harp and vocal.
Okay.
So that is all women's chorus, and we sang with harps, and that was amazing, the best training ever. I was under Patricia Terry Ross, who is a Kresge winner. She plays at the DSO to this day. So, like I said, I just was around greats, and it just helped me to be serious about, what I put out.
Okay. So from there, the creativity on your own, it's like having an arc, and you talk about writing. Are you writing your own music at the time?
Not at all. And it's so funny that you say that because I didn't write my first song until after I graduated college. So I graduated from college. I moved home, and like I said, my parents were always revered music so much that I didn't. If I thought of a songwriter, I'm thinking Stevie. So I'm like, I ain't no songwriter because I ain't Stevie. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But I had moved back to Detroit, and I was in a place where I spent a lot of time alone, and I had a keyboard, and the words just came to me, and it was a good song. It was a real good song. Where Do You Sleep was actually my first song. So that was, writing the song is actually what gave me the confidence to be a songwriter.
All right, and you said the keys, so that means you obviously know how to play the keys, which I'm guessing your mom may have taught you a long time ago. You know what I'm saying, with the ruler.
It wasn't no ruler, but I just that was something that we always did. So by me being by myself so much, going from school to where you're always with people, that was the biggest shift for me, to go from always like going from theater, having all those people, going from college, having all those people. I was in a sorority, so I had a lot of people around me all the time, and then graduating and being an adult and being by yourself, that was a really big adjustment for me. Something I still kind of deal with today. But I had music, and I was like, just sitting there, just playing, and then the song came to me, and I was like, yo, I think I can do this. I think I could do this, because I knew I wanted to be in entertainment, but once I graduated from school, singing is something I just always did, so I didn't think about actually going forward until, like I said, I was full grown. I was 21.
All right. I do want to touch on this a little bit more in the expansion of writing that first song and getting there. So in this, like, I got you by more than a couple days, but like in it, like the music industry and what we think of song itself, like, as they say, like, R&B's dead, soul is dead. Like
Yeah.
the attention to what good songwriting is and musicianship, and I often get into this discussion that I have with Piper Carter about like the packaging of singers, and what is that call to action in the hip hop era, and even with like the talent of a Beyonce, she's looked at as she's a great performer. Rihanna's looked at as a great performer. I think it was until like Adele, but Adele's packaged as she's a great vocalist.
Right.
And it's not a lot of black women kind of in that space other than like the last one, maybe Toni Braxton, Whitney Houston, just you know, and even her and Ella Mai, they're like, oh, they're creative. Now this is like a little after, but like you being such a vocalist that grew up great in song and things like that, what was it that made you think, okay, it's an audience for this music that's beyond, that's really want something real, as opposed to like I don't know.
I mean,
I don't even know what I can call it.
I just went off of how I feel. So, you know, however, all my creatives out there, however you feel, it's 7 billion people in the world. So somebody gonna feel like you feel. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I went for. I've never tried to like make something that I thought was gonna be what everybody wanted to hear. I just always made what I felt. So what feels good to me. Like when I go see, I remember when I first got here, the first singer that I saw was Idea. And she was we were over on the east side on Iron Street. And she was singing Prototype. And that was the first like show, grassroots show I'd ever been to. I didn't even know that was like a thing. Like I thought you always had to have kind of a venue or whatever. And like the way that I felt by going there and seeing a girl just singing her ass off, I was like, okay, yeah, we gonna do this. So I never felt like music was dead because it's never been dead to me. I mean, I grew up with Tweet, Brandy, Monica. You know, those were the girls that I listened to. So I didn't ever feel like, oh, there's no place for me.
Okay. And then shout out Idea. That's one of I feel so bad because she's one of the lost interviews. Marcella's one of the lost interviews. Like, these are two people I got to get back. And Idea's like, great. I love Idea.
I know. She's a mom now. It's hard to get people.
Great performer. But that's one, yes, Idea, so many stories. And she 2024, and I'm always happy to book her. Like,
yes,
all the time.
I don't know if she knows that, but she was like the reason that I was like, okay, let's do this grassroots thing.
I'll take it a step further. You said Iron Street. You were more than likely at our venue, the 1440. More than likely, if it was Iron Street.
I was there with
possibly
Flacco's spot.
Okay, that's the other spot.
Yeah.
But yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. And seeing that, it was like, okay, this can be done. And great vocalists and extremely serious about the craft.
Exactly.
So similar to what your path would be. Mm-hmm. And then you get in this zone. Who's the first person you let hear the song?
My parents.
What was their response?
It's such a gut-wrenching song. They were like, what you going through? Like, are you okay? Like, but they were really proud. And then there was this crew. I used to work at Pattaya, and I let them hear it too. And then my homegirl, Allison, she recorded it for me, and that was my first YouTube. So it was just the people that was around me. Mm-hmm.
All right. So from there, you got the song. Mm-hmm. You get it to YouTube. Where does it go for like, okay, I want to keep running with this?
Man, that's when I started going to other people's shows. So once I started going to other people's shows, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get my show together. And then that's when I linked up with my homeboy Devin, and I was like, let's put a project together. So we put the project together. It took about a summer, and then I did my first party at this loft downtown. It was on the 6th floor. There were no steps. I went to Cass, so I'm like, my crowd was like, girl, never again, honey. Like, why would you do that to us?
You mean no elevator? They had to climb up them steps.
They had to come, and they did. We packed the room
That's cool.
out. We did a 420 party. And then I started, like, trying to get booked and stuff, and people weren't really booking girls. So I just booked myself. I was like, forget that. Hit up the people at Old Miami. And I did, I had a residency there. I was there once a month for, like, 2 years. Went from there.
Let's stop right there.
Okay.
Old Miami, for people that are watching that are not in Detroit, is
It's a
Old
dive
Miami is, yes, it's a dive bar, but like, so you all get the essence of Old Miami. It's a lot of Vietnam veterans, I believe, that came together to create the Old Miami, and it still honors a lot of that. The outside of Old Miami is like a whole nother universe. It's almost like a tiki bar thing going on, but the inside does have a stage, and it has a sound system.
It's
and PA
amazing system.
that's been there for performers for a long time, and depending upon the iteration of performers you talk to, because even Neek Love Rhodes is like, yo, Old Miami is the spot where I go, and it's like, it's so unique to see the spots change depending upon who and then what would be welcome, but it's more welcome than a lot of other venues that can play, for lack of a better term, the politics of
that's what I got around by linking up with them. That was a perfect analogy for it. That's what I got around. Like, they saw that, you know, oh, she can you, that's what their question was, can you bring people? You can? Okay, that's all we want to know. Whereas other places, it might have been something a little bit different, but that was my first spot.
So let's stop there, because also this is where I think a lot of times artists we're just being artists and we're moving forward, but we're not checking all the boxes of what we're doing, because we're performing. So check box 1, you're a performer.
Right.
2, you're a producer because you're producing the show. All right. 3, you're a promoter because you're bringing people there. 4, you're a manager because you're managing the flow of the acts and everything like that. And you're consistently doing this. I don't think we sometimes recognize all of these roles that we're playing.
Yeah.
And then the whole time you're also managing relationships between the band, the people that own the venue. And then oftentimes, sometimes just because the person owns the venue, you got a great relationship with them, you better have a good relationship with the staff, because the staff is going to be who interacts with stuff. And your fans, the people that come and support, are very important. So you have to have all of these relationships interconnected and like be mindful of this.
Yeah. You know, I was just so young and I didn't think about all of that stuff. I just knew I wanted to sing, and I knew I needed a place. And, you know, we did a good job with relationships. I can, if you go talk to any of the staffs at any of the places that I go to, it's still, you know, it's still love. All the management, all the bookers, it's all love, you know.
What would you say to another performer, but specifically like a young woman that's thinking of this? Because this is another thing that I'm just going to be honest. It is like a lot of industries, very male dominant.
Yeah.
Being a young, attractive woman, we know, you know, guys is throwing pitches all the time, and that is just something. How did you manage that and move forward, and what was your comfort level in that?
Yeah. Well, with the venues, it wasn't so hard. Making music, being a woman, now that's different. Like, when it's time to go into the studio, when it's time to try to get producers, when it's time to do, you know, try to get deals done, that's where that
energy comes.
Yeah, but for me, it was just with the venue, they really want to know, can you bring it? So to a young woman, I would just say, have that confidence. You know, first of all, practice what you're going to say. Don't just go up into the room and be like, like, I kind of think I want to do a show. Like really, you know, if you feel confident enough to say, yeah, I could do this show. Yeah, I'm going to bring 300 people. Go in there and they'll see that. They'll know that. Don't worry about that. But being a woman in this industry has been tough.
So I want to definitely get into the music creation, but I also want to tip my hat and then drop those gems of game for that person watching this now. Like, okay, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And what that method was. How did you go about getting the people out?
Okay, so we actually printed flyers and we would post them up on poles. We would take them into like all of the places that were around where we would be performing, put them up on the boards. Like it's still something to be said about that actual people seeing it, the physical thing in real life. They just, even if they don't notice that they're seeing it, if you keep going to different places and you keep seeing that poster, it's gonna be like, okay, this show must be about something. I keep seeing it. So that was grassroots. That was one of the things that we did. Definitely Instagram. My Instagram has been my best friend. Like, don't take that for granted. If you got
so when you
coming,
say Instagram, because it's multiple layers,
Yeah.
and marketing and everything, is it posting? Is it engagement? Are you like, how do you leverage just the how engaging is it?
Yeah.
How interactive?
You have to be
get?
interactive. You have to be interactive. I was watching academics talk about this with an artist that's actually pretty popular, but doesn't want to show that on the internet, doesn't want to interact with their crowd on the internet, and it's affecting their numbers. Like, listen, we not doctors, we not, teachers or nothing like that. We are entertainers. And the way that we get our music out is from people connecting to us. So don't ever feel like you too big to respond to a comment. Somebody comment on my picture, thank you, like it. Somebody comment in your DMs. You never know. Like, I make R&B music, so I make music that connects to people. Somebody might come in my DM and spill their heart out. I can't just ignore that. You know what I'm saying? Like, me responding to them could make or break their whole year, their life, what they thought about themselves. So you got to take in the same reverence that we took with gospel. You got to take it with people who support you. If somebody supports you, you don't take that for granted, because they don't have to. It's a million other artists that they could listen to. So interaction is definitely key. I don't turn off my DMs. I may get to a point, where I get so big that I have to make it so people can't comment on my pictures. But I just always find it so wild when I'm like, girl, you and these 8,000 followers, you feel like we can't respond to your selfie, girl. Come on now. So it's just like, I keep it open. I keep it open for sure.
All right, so you went from that residency, and also 2 years is a great run.
Yeah.
But you've also done and took that show other places. What did you learn there to take to another show? Because that's another thing, I think, as a performer, like deviating the show. When I say deviating, you have to make it a little different, because a person's feeling like, we even had this talk.
Yeah.
Like, I think I usually have this talk with Josh Adams. Shout out Josh and everything. Like, I think a great fan will see a performer. I think a great fan will see a performer 4 to 5 times a year. I think a good fan will see you 2 to 3 times a year. A fan will see you once a year.
Yeah.
So how are you changing up that stage show? How what's gonna make me say, like, all right, I saw Bev for the Valentine's Day show, but now it's a spring solstice show. I mean, I kind of, you know what I'm saying?
Well, this is how I keep people coming. Of course, it's about me. Of course, it's about my vocals. It's about, you're going to come and hear a girl sing. She going to sing down. But I always wanted to create a vibe. So even if you already have seen me, you kind of just, it's like, where else I'm going to go? If Bev having a show that night, you want to make sure that's the show that people want to come to. So that goes with the people that you book around you. That goes with what DJs you book. That goes with being consistent with the vibe that you bring. Like, my crowd is not always about, oh, I just want to hear Bev. It's about, I want to have a good time. So they know when they come out to see me that we're going to turn up. We're having a good time. We're having fun. It's light. You're safe. You know what I'm saying? It's certain places you go, you can let your guard down. You can, maybe pick up somebody. The baddie's gonna be there. The dude's gonna be there. So it's like, even if you have come to my show before, you still want to come again because it's like, where else I'm going to go tonight?
So creating that experience, that's what I
Yes.
hear when you say the vibe.
Yes.
And making sure that experience matches the music and expands on it.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a vibe. We always have a good time, me and my crowd.
All right, so let's talk about the studio experience and people connecting to it. Where do people get your music, listen to it? How do I hear it? How do I get that?
So all of my music, all of my music is on SoundCloud. But you can also go to Spotify or Apple and hear it. But like my deep cuts and all of that is on SoundCloud. I'm still navigating, do I want to put all my music out? You know how it is as an artist. But if you want to hear like everything that I've ever put out, it's all on SoundCloud.
What's your studio process?
So normally I will I have a few producers that I work with, and we have a relationship. So we'll come in and it's basically like a therapy session. And then you go from the therapy session. The therapy session lasts about 15, 20 minutes. And it's like, okay, so which song can we make from that? And then that's how we go. We create the music from scratch. I'm not really a person that you go in and play beats for. I think that I want to get more into being able to do that because I think that increases productivity. But for me, it's always been really organic. Like how do I feel that day? That's the song that we make.
Okay. So with that, is it like one of those things where you're feeling, damn, this is this day I really need to go to the studio, or you just have it booked, or it's like, nah, I gotta get this out?
It happens both ways. So some days I'll have studio time already set up, but sometimes it's like, yo, bro, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? Do you have anything like today? Can I pull up?
And that relationship, as you said, sometimes in the studio can be different.
Yeah.
But even with it's an intimate process.
It is.
It's a close space, and it's a lot of vulnerability between artist and engineer / producer because you're bearing your soul, and then that's like that one person that's like,
yeah, I think I may have scared away my favorite producer. He knows who he is. I may have scared him away. Our birthday is a day apart, and that's who I made my second project with, and I laid it all out, and he laid it all out, and I just felt like we just like would never part, and we haven't worked together in some time, and it's heartbreaking. It's really heartbreaking. Yeah.
That's tough. And I mean, these are stories that exist through time and music as well.
And it's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what I did. I'm like, this is the ex that say his boundary for real. Like, ain't no spin the block. But, he elevated into his career where he's working with huge artists. And I think that with me not being as consistent as I should have been, and I'll definitely take that on. I'm not here. The reason that I'm here with you today is because I'm pushing myself that this year I'm not stopping myself, because ain't nobody having nobody stop me in my career except me. You know what I'm saying? So, the last thing that he told me was really like, you got all these songs, we ain't put them out yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what you doing? So, that's what I want to change this year. But finding another partner, another producer has been tough. It has been. So if y'all out there, hit me up.
All right. When you make a song for you and you feel like it's not ready, what's usually holding you back from releasing it to the people?
Yeah. For me, it's been probably just not enough sounds there for me. And that's just the perfectionist in me. Like, I just want to keep going back and back. But, you can't put that on people, especially if you don't have a team that's, allotting that time and making sure that, everybody can show up to make that happen. And like I said, I take full responsibility. So that's something that I want to change.
So I'm gonna bring up a singer that, like, I guess historically people always bring up in this, but I also sometimes the artist in me can appreciate more of the vibes. But like a Lauryn Hill, for instance,
Okay.
when you see Lauryn Hill in that process,
Yeah.
and actually, as much as people love Miseducation of Lauryn Hill, I really love her Unplugged album a whole lot.
Yeah.
And people say that, like, oh, that album's so sad. And some of those songs, like she says, these songs don't even have titles.
Yeah.
But it's very, like, it's a very
Guttural.
intimate and deep project as she's, like, bearing her soul in that. When it's like an artist like that in that connection, because we're getting into, like, though it's a product and though we party to this stuff and everything like that, music also does hit a tone of it really can become emotional. It's like my life is a soundtrack. Like, I got a song for like almost everything.
Yeah.
And if I can get the right song at the right moment,
Yeah.
I'm there. So I feel what you're saying. But also when it becomes a business, like what she was saying in the Unplugged thing, it's like, yo, I'm looking at my manager. My manager has kids. My agent has kids. My background singers I've met, they just got married. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it can be a lot, but your process is not there.
Yeah.
Like, so when you see that in a Lauryn Hill, what's your take on that? What do you think is the arc? And I know we're projecting on an idea of it, but just, in that space.
I mean, definitely one of the greats for sure. I would say I feel like she got disenchanted. I feel like, honestly, that man broke her heart. And when a man break your heart, I don't care how big you are, it's hard to bounce back from. You know what I'm saying? So, like, if you look at a lot of people when their pauses are in their careers, it has a lot to do with relationships. So I think that the industry being so wild how it was in the early 2000s, how, people got signed their lives away and could barely pay their bills, that combined with your man leaving you after you done had 5 of his kids, it would make anybody break. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what happened with our good sis, is that man broke her heart.
That's deep. But also in that same pain, it's like people even talk about it all the time. Mary J, I love when Mary J going through problems. The music would be amazing.
Now see, she took it. She took her heartbreak, and it fueled her to work. So that's where you got to be. You know what I'm saying? Now, that is a frightening thing. I was just talking about this at the griot. Do R&B singers curse ourselves with our emotions? Do we curse ourselves in relationships? Do we seek out those type of relationships that will fuel our artistry? But, if you gonna be a heartbreak girl, make sure you still stick to that bag.
and it's tough too, because like two of my favorite vocalists, more not like older vocalists. I don't even know how much you listen to them, especially like my younger audience and stuff, but are Donny Hathaway and Phyllis Hyman.
Not so much Phyllis, but Donnie was one of the CDs that I would steal from my dad.
And like in certain songs, like, I love you more than you'll ever know. It's like you're hearing this song and it's like it's like, damn, this is a painful song. And even when we just did the lighting of the Kwanzaa Kanar, and people were making a procession from the one tent to where the lighting was, and I was like, yo, we about to play some of the Chicago finest. And I put on the ghetto, hit the live version, because to me, even that is just like, man, it's something about Donnie. But in that process, like you say, just bearing so much of his soul, obviously things became overwhelming. And with Phyllis, same thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, also you got to think about the support system that was around for Black artists then. There wasn't one. You know what I'm saying? They were they were commodified. What can we get out of you? We need 3 shows a night. Forget one show. We need 3 shows a night. You got 2 shows on this side of town, and you got to hop on the bus because there's one on the other side of town tonight. You know what I'm saying? So you dealing with somebody who may have substance abuse issues, all this stuff. She's beating herself down. They don't do that no more. Thank God. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's expecting you to do 3 shows a night anymore.
But part of it, like as any creatives, like health and everything, and I know it's coming. So rest in peace. And I haven't shouted out. I haven't done anything. I know the family and everything, but on this same topic, unfiltered, and just the resources we have. And when I think about just how, like I say this, and when I found out he passed, and I knew it was real, and just being kind of connected a little to the family, I knew he was ill even before the time, and I felt so bad because he performed at, and this is how I found out, and this is like, you never know what an artist is going through. Deshaun Jones. If anybody knows Deshaun's talented, and he's been doing things down with the Black Box Theater, with what is that, connected to is that the Orchestra Hall? Or, that's the Orchestra Hall.
Yep.
And he featured Imp, and I saw the performance. And in the performance, it's like he needed to take some breaks and everything. And Dames Brown held it down. Dames Brown is amazing.
I just met them.
And after the performance, and it was like a shorter set, I was like, man, I thought you would have did some more songs from it. And he just gave me play like, yeah. And then that's when I found out, because people from the family was like, yo, this is why it took even a lot for this performance. And it was an amazing performance. And then after that, it was like, OG. And anybody that know the Imp, like, when I say he the coolest dude in the room, but so like fine. Straight up.
So fine.
But he's straight up real East Side 7 Mile. Like for real. Like, you know.
Yeah.
So I felt like, I was like, OG, man. I didn't even know, man. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't, you know, and in this process, and even like who he mentored in Dilla. Like when we really think about like what the healthcare systems are and what Nas has been doing for like Scarface and Rakim, and like, it's not like Medicaid ain't coming with this.
No.
You know, the pensions and everything, and my other godmother, and also Monica Blair's godmother of Orthea Barnes. Rest in peace. But like, this is, you're bearing a lot of you.
You gotta take care of yourself. Period. Period. And I think that that's across the board, no matter what industry you in. You know, I got half of my family is plant workers. I don't care if they tell you it's triple time. If your knee is locked up, sit your ass down. Because guess what? If you fall on that line, they're going to keep going while you're on the floor. They're not going to stop. You know what I'm saying? If you fall out of that chair while you supposed to be doing hair, your fingers is all locked up, that girl's going to book somebody else. You know what I'm saying? You have to take care of yourself. And that goes for if you're in a relationship. Listen, you go crazy, stab somebody, that nigga is going to go get another girl. Like, you have to take care of yourself. Sounds
like a Tubi movie.
Listen, you have to take care of yourself. And that is where I'm at with it. That's where I'm at with it right now. That's where I want to diversify I want all good things come to me. Anything that's feeling like it's bad, I want to shut it out, because even if they want to care, they can't. You have to care the most about yourself, because nobody's going to be able to check in with you except you. So if you feeling weird, if you feeling like, oh man, I've been having this headache for 2 weeks, you know what I'm saying? Or, oh man, I gotta go to this party because they came to my party, and you not feeling good, you don't gotta go to that party. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you have to take care of yourself. You really do. And that's what I've seen more in this past few years than anything, is that the most important person in your life is you, whether you a parent or not. I'm not a parent, but if you neglect yourself for your children so badly that you're gone, then you didn't do them a service by caring about somebody outside of yourself more than yourself. So, especially as artists, you know what I'm saying? People kind of praise being unwell. No, that's not what that ain't the life that God have for me. My heaven's gonna be here. So, yeah, you got to take care of yourself. There is a way for you to get health insurance as an artist. You know what I'm saying? You have to go find that resource, but you can get on Medicaid if you are an artist. You know, there is a 401k if you are an artist. You got to find it, but there is one. So there is retirement for artists, but you just have to put more into it. The same way you put into going to get them wigs and going to get them outfits and going to do all of that, you got to put into yourself because, baby, ain't nobody else gonna care. So
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. We get closer to a close.
Yeah.
So you said this is going to be a year where more will come.
Yeah.
It'll definitely be more pushed. I see more collaborations with Detroit is Different creatively, and Detroit is Different creatively.
Yeah.
So I feel that that's in divine order. But music-wise, what do you see, stage, music? What's going to come first? Is it going to be a performance? Will it be some music? What do you see next?
Well, we definitely got some shows lined up.
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. My band is crazy. Back at the class, they're insane. So I just love hooking up with those boys whenever I can. I'll be able to tell you about the shows once we get them.
Once you get the announcements, and
once we get them inked out, yeah.
Business first.
Once we get them inked out.
Okay, so it'll be the shows first.
But I am working on music. I have a bunch of stuff that I did while I was in LA that I want to quantify and see what's the best. And what I really want to do is get a vinyl out.
Okay.
Because I want to have a full playthrough. That's my goal. I want to have a full on playthrough.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's gonna be R&B, soul music. Yeah.
All right, that's cool.
Yeah, and I'm looking for my next lover producer.
Okay.
That's what I'm manifesting. My I know people are like, you could work with anybody, but I'm looking for my one. Yeah. That's what I'm manifesting.
I'm with it. And I'm looking forward to hearing what will be created from that sessions and for the masses. I'm looking forward to the vinyl and everything else.
Yeah.
All right. So as we get to a close, I got my classic Detroit is Different question that everybody seemed to be ducking. It's like, oh no. I'm going to have to get back in the lab and come with it. I think you'll answer it.
Okay.
But before we even get there, how do people get in contact with you? How do they connect?
Instagram. That's not the question.
What's the what's your ad?
My ad is Bev Incredible. So BEV Incredible. Instagram. I'm on there. I do respond. You can hit me up, or if you want to talk about work, you can email me at bevloves@me.com. So BEVLOVES@me.com. That's my work email.
All right, and everything SoundCloud, but you can also go to iTunes, Spotify if you want to hear some of the collection.
Mm-hmm.
So here we go. Favorite adjective and why?
Favorite adjective to describe me?
Just period. Just favorite adjective and why?
Well, I don't know if this is my favorite, but right now, luxurious, because that's the kind of life that I'm manifested for myself. I just want to live a life of luxury. I want to see the most beautiful places. I want to wear the most beautiful things. I want to eat the most tastiest things. I want to drink the finest wines. So, yeah, luxurious.
I'm with it. Thank you so much, Bev. And this is a Detroit is Different.
Thank you. Bye.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.